The judge leaned forward and asked my husband one question. Just one? Mr. Hale, do you understand that by taking these properties, you are also taking every lien, every lawsuit, and every personal guarantee attached to them? Evan's smile froze. His fingers tightened around the pen like it suddenly weighed 100 pounds. His lawyer's face went flat like a man realizing the building is already on fire. And me? I sat there quiet, and for the first time in a long time, I felt calm. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand why I wanted Evan to take everything. My name is Mariah Hale. I'm 40 years old. And 3 months ago, I married the biggest mistake of my life for the second time. Not because I'm stupid, because I'm the kind of woman who believes people when they cry and promise they'll change. Evan is 28. Yeah, that's the age gap. 12 years. When we met, I told myself it didn't matter. He was charming, funny, warm, the kind of guy who makes strangers smile in line at a coffee shop. I was a nurse manager then, long shifts, real responsibilities, real bills. Evan was a personal trainer with big dreams and empty pockets. He didn't care that I was older. He said he liked that I was steady, that I knew who I was. And I liked that he looked at me like I wasn't too much, like I wasn't intense, like I wasn't a woman people needed to handle. We got married fast. My friends warned me. My sister straight up said, "Mariah, he's cute, but cute doesn't pay taxes." I laughed, because love makes you laugh at the right warnings. The first year was sweet. The second year was weird. Evan started talking about building wealth, but he didn't mean saving. He meant looking rich. He wanted a bigger place, a nicer car, a flashier life. He started saying things like, "We should buy rentals. Everybody does it." And when I said, "We can, but we have to do it safely," he'd kiss my forehead and say, "Babe, you worry too much. Let me lead." That should have scared me, because a man who demands leadership usually just wants control. Still, we bought 2 small rental homes through an LLC. On paper, it looks smart. In real life, Evan treated our LLC like a casino. He hired cheap contractors without permits. He skipped inspections. He delayed paying suppliers. He told tenants, "Don't bother Mariah, I've got it handled." And slowly, without me noticing, handled started meaning hidden. Then came the humiliation phase. That's the part nobody warns you about. It wasn't one big explosion. It was 1,000 little cuts. Evan started joking about my age in front of people. Not mean jokes at first. He'd say, "Mariah likes to be in bed by 9. Or, "She's basically 60 on the inside." People would laugh. I'd force a smile, because I didn't want to be the older wife who can't take a joke. But the jokes got sharper. One night at dinner, he said, "I love Mariah, but sometimes I forget she's not my mom." His friends laughed so hard, one of them snorted. And Evan sat there proud, like he'd just won something. I went to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked tired. Not old. Just tired of being disrespected in my own marriage. A week later, I found out why Evan suddenly had so much confidence. Her name was Tessa. She was 23, and she worked at a smoothie place Evan stopped by every day. I didn't find out through a confession. I found out because Evan got lazy. He left his phone on the couch. A message popped up, "Can't wait till you're finally free." I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I just sat down and felt something inside me go very still. When Evan came home, I asked him straight, "Are you cheating?" He didn't even deny it properly. He sighed, like I'd asked him to take out the trash. "I didn't plan it," he said. "It just happened. And honestly, Mariah, we're not a match anymore." Not a match. Like we were shoes. Then he hit me with the part that made my stomach drop. "I want a divorce," he said. And I want the properties, the SUV, the accounts, the LLC, all of it. He said it like he was ordering a combo meal. I'll be generous, he added. You can keep your boring job and your boring schedule. And then, the cherry on top. You're older, you'll be fine, you're used to being alone. That sentence was the moment I stopped being his wife. The next day, Evan's mother showed up at my door. Cynthia Hale, a woman who always looked at me like I was a temporary situation. She walked into my kitchen, looked around, and said, "Well, I guess you knew this could happen. A younger man has needs. Lek." I stared at her. She said that like I was an appliance that expired. Then she smiled and added, "Just don't make this ugly. Evan deserves a clean start." A clean start. With my life. For the next 2 weeks, Evan acted like he already owned everything. He changed passwords. He reorganized paperwork. He started meeting with a lawyer. And he started bringing Tessa around, just close enough to be seen. Not in my house, but in my neighborhood, at my gym, at the grocery store. Tessa would look at me with this tiny, satisfied smile, like she'd won a prize. And Evan loved it. He loved watching me swallow my pride. But here's the thing Evan didn't know. I had already swallowed worse, and I learned something from it. Because 3 months before Evan asked for a divorce, I found the real truth. It was a Tuesday night. Evan was working late. I was doing bills like I always did, because real adults don't ignore numbers. And I noticed a withdrawal I didn't recognize. Then another. Then a payment labeled hard money funding. My chest tightened. I logged into the LLC account one Evan told me not to stress about. And there it was. Evan had taken out short-term loans on the rentals. High interest, balloon payments, personal guarantees. He'd also signed contracts with 2 contractors who were now suing the LLC for non-payment. And one of the properties? It had a code violation notice, unpermitted electrical work. Meaning, if something went wrong, it wasn't just fines. It was liability. It was my name on the LLC documents too. My credit, my license, my career. I sat at the kitchen table until 2 in the morning, reading, saving screenshots, downloading statements. My hands shook so badly I spilled cold coffee all over the paperwork. My first instinct was to confront him. But then I remembered how Evan argued, how he twisted words, how he turned questions into insults. So I did the opposite. I got quiet. I called a woman my sister recommended, an attorney named Janice Kwan. Janice was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, calm-voiced, and allergic to nonsense. I told her everything. I expected her to look surprised. She wasn't. She said, "Mariah, your husband is trying to look successful while he's drowning, and he's about to drag you under with him." Then she asked me one question. "Do you want revenge, or do you want freedom?" And I said, "I want both." Janice helped me separate what was mine. My retirement account from the hospital protected. My savings moved into an account Evan couldn't touch. And most importantly, my father had left me a small inheritance years ago, nothing flashy, but enough to rebuild. Janice made sure it was documented as separate property. No mixing, no shared transfers, clean lines. Then we built the trap legally. Because here's what most people don't understand. In divorce, people fight for assets, but assets come with strings. And Evan was the kind of man who never read the strings. So when mediation started, I became the woman everyone expected me to be. I showed up tired, quiet, soft-spoken. I wore plain clothes, no makeup, no jewelry. I let Evan talk over me. I let him act like the victim. And when the mediator asked what I wanted, I said, "I just want a clean break. Evan can have the properties in the LLC. I don't want to fight." Evan's lawyer blinked like he couldn't believe his luck. Evan looked at me like I was weak. Good. Because weak women don't get watched closely. Evan's lawyer suggested an audit. A full review of the LLC debts. Evan shut it down immediately. "No," he said. "She's not fighting. Why waste money?" I almost laughed. Tessa, sitting next to him like a human perfume ad, leaned in and whispered, "Just finish it. I hate drama." Evan nodded like she was a CEO. Janice slid over the settlement package. It listed the assets Evan wanted. And then quietly attached to it was a full disclosure of liabilities. Loans, liens, pending lawsuits, code violations, balloon payments, and the line that mattered most: receiving party assumes all associated liabilities and personal guarantees. Black and white, simple English. Big consequences. Evan signed. He signed like a kid signing a permission slip. Fast, confident, smug. And then came court day. The judge asked the question. Evan froze. His lawyer leaned in and whispered something I couldn't hear. But I didn't need to, because I watched Evan's face go from victory to fear to panic. He stood up and said, "This isn't fair. I didn't know about all this debt." The judge looked at him like he'd just confessed to not knowing his own name. "Mr. Hale," she said, "these are debts attached to the properties you requested. You were advised to review them. You declined. You signed." And Evan turned to me, voice cracking. "Mariah, you knew." I met his eyes. "I was your wife," I said calmly, "not your babysitter." He tried to back out. He couldn't. The judge finalized it. And just like that, Evan got everything he wanted. The rentals, the SUV, the LLC, the wealth, and every single problem he created. In the hallway, Tessa finally asked him, loud enough for everyone to hear, "So, are you broke?" Evan opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Tessa's face changed. Not sad, not angry. Disgusted. She walked away in heels that clicked like punctuation. 2 weeks later, Evan tried to sell one of the rentals. He couldn't. The lien blocked it. A month later, the lawsuits moved forward. By the 3rd month, Evan was calling Janice's office, begging for options. Options. Like consequences were something you could unsubscribe from. Then he showed up at my apartment. He looked smaller. Not physically. Just smaller. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stood in the doorway and said, "About what?" He swallowed. "I made mistakes." I nodded. "You did." He tried again. "I didn't mean..." I cut him off. Not loud, not dramatic. Just firm. "You wanted a clean start," I said. "You got one. Start cleaning." I closed the door, and I won't lie. I sat on my couch afterward and breathed, like I'd been holding my breath for years. Because that's what an age gap relationship can do when it's built on ego instead of respect. People think the older partner has all the power. Sometimes the older partner just has more to lose. I kept my career. I kept my peace. I kept my future. And Evan? He kept everything. If you're still here, let me tell you the real lesson. Don't beg someone to choose you. Don't fight to keep someone who enjoys humiliating you. And never be scared to let a greedy person take what they asked for. Because sometimes the everything they want is exactly what will finally teach them who they are.